Hello, everybody. Hello, can I have everybody's attention? Okay, while you eat, we're going to give a little bit of a presentation here for Steve. All right, we're going to do a little presentation on the screen here for you, Steve. I'm so happy that we could all get together today to honor our good friend and colleague on his 100th birthday. I've never celebrated a 100th birthday for anyone, but with Steve there have been many qualities that I don't see in anyone else. I could go on for quite a long time, but the people in this room, and the people in the industry, and the people in the collectors community, and people on the internet have shared some of their memories, which Duncan has spent, come on, Vanna, let's hold up the book. Duncan has put them together in this amazing book that everybody should take a look at. And while a lot of people wrote really long and interesting and nice tributes and memories, I hope you really enjoy looking at them, I have taken just brief little snippets, a sentence here and a paragraph there, from some of the people that I thought was really great comments and really representative of our good friend. So I'm going to read these off one at a time from Rob Burke. Rob is here. Rob traveled from Ohio with Mike Pasek to be with us today. And Rob wrote, he always seems to light up when you mention Harvey Heiss and Genko. Phoebe Smith, who is here, I will never forget when I first met him at Expo 2006. He was like the Energizer Bunny. He was non-stop, and it was totally amazing to meet him. And I was in complete awe of him and his energy. Brian Eddy, along the same lines. When I worked with Steve, I was in my 20s, and he was probably in his 80s. And he had more energy than me. Mike Stroll writes, Steve, this world is a much nicer place with you here. Stick around for another century. Okay, we've got a lot of comments from collectors and people on the internet. Some of these people we know, we are part of our community. Some of these people we don't know, and they either have an internet name or a handle, and I'm going to go through some of those. Mike Hanley writes, I was honored to actually meet him in '89 at Expo, and he sat and talked about Liberty Bell for half an hour. Damian Rowe, what Marconi was to the radio, what Jacquard was to the computer, what Edison was to the light bulb, Steve Kordek is to pinball. Yes. Lloyd Olson, also known as Lloyd the Great, no one has ever touched so many in pinball as you have. Your contributions to pinball have always extended beyond the factory doors. Josh Kaplan, who goes by Pin Geek. I have a Genko Junior pin, released in 1937. I wonder if Steve designed it, since he started with Genko in 1937. Is that your game? Steve says, yes, yes. Thanks for all the many games you have designed. Ken, EM Pinman. I have very fond memories of playing Space Mission as a kid, and now I own a Space Odyssey and love it even more. DJ Charlie. Henry Ford didn't invent the automobile. He just made everyone want to drive. Steve Kordek didn't invent pinball. He just made us all want to play. Happy 100th, Steve. Glenn Powers. It isn't very often in life that you get a chance to meet one of your heroes. I guess that wide-eyed little boy who watched some older boys play Heat Wave in 1964 has never really gotten over it. That little boy now owns Heat Wave, Spaceship, Big Daddy, Four Roses, and Teacher's Pet. Bruce Biss, who calls himself Mr. Bally. At the AMOA show in 1978, I was nervous to approach you as I was a teenager at the time. You made me feel welcome and let me take your picture with the models. And boy, did Williams hire the cuties from Bud Salt's agency. Marty Glazman adds, at an 80s trade show, shortly after Steve brought into my office about 50 pictures he had taken at the show of various games, I was looking and finally realized they all had the same female. Besides the game, they all had a female, playing, good-looking female. When I asked Steve about it, he told me that is what kept him young, games and dames. Terry Cumming. Steve did great work with Genko and their DC system to get the proper sequencing of actions. Others used AC. He designed the first game with flippers at the bottom, triple action, and the first Williams drop target game, Vagabond. A great guy who has livened up many of the pinball expos and other shows over the years. When I grow up, I want to live life like him. Robert Urbanowitz. Big Daddy was the first pin that I played in my life. A magic moment that I still remember. Happy birthday, Steve, and thanks for showing me the door to enter into the fantastic world of pinball machines. W. Bradley. He has carried the torch, so to speak, for younger talent, giving them, us, a better feel for the long-term history of the business and what it meant to countless others before them. I would think it must have been a great privilege for some of the present talent to have drawn from the immense wisdom of experiences this man has acquired. And Charlie writes, it's official. Steve Kordek is pinball's very own Yoda. When 100 years we reach, look as good we will not, Tom, who calls himself Homebrewed, writes, you are amazing, and we all love all the great games. Thank you. Did your over-the-top buzzer go off when you hit 100? Gary Stern. I have known Steve since I was a child, literally. My best to Steve. George Petro. I would not be where I am today if I had not listened to Steve's advice. Why he took an interest in this young kid from Fort Wayne, I'll never know. But I'm sure glad he did, and I will not forget that. Marcus Webb. It takes just 5 minutes of chatting with Steve to discover that the twinkle in his eye comes from his boyish enthusiasm for a million ideas. That the spring in his step comes from his passion for people and his work. And that the eternal youth in his heart comes from always looking forward to today and tomorrow. Eddie Hicks. Steve is one of the nicest men I've met and remains one of the clearest examples of subject matter expert that you'll ever meet. Lauren Bromley. I am out of the country right now, but I'm going to practice the 101-year-old polka for next year. Roger Sharp. Steve was unconditionally generous in sharing his wisdom and insights with subsequent generations of designers. Always ready with an observation and a suggestion for consideration to take good to great and great to timeless. I am out of town, but will try to hit them straight as Steve always does. Eugene Jarvis. Bing, bang, boom. Talk about running up the score. It's time for an atta-ball. Dave Poole. I would have told you Steve was old in 1977 when I first met him. Let me do the math. OMG. Steve had just turned 65. Try that subtraction again. OMG, I'm 65 next month. I'm old. He's not. He never was. and silver. Steve would devote a great deal of time to making many small adjustments in order to make one big improvement. Steve always took the time to add a nail here, a post there, or adjust a ball guide by sometimes as little as a few millimeters. Happy birthday, Steve. You led the industry, not just from the games you designed, but also by the very way you worked. Michael Njikawa. I can just say that Steve was the epitome of a true gentleman. He and his wife came to our wedding, and I remember telling my husband that I wanted what they had. Their obvious love for each other was so endearing. John Newcomer. I had the good fortune of working with so many talented individuals at Williams Valley Midway, yet by far, you were the most influential in my life. Steve, I congratulate you on your momentous birthday. Your age is small in comparison to the number of people you have touched in the most positive ways. Steve Ritchie. Space Mission provided my first pinball design education. Steve is the guy that knows how to correct a myriad of kinetic pinball problems with cheap and clever remedies I would have never conceived. Mark Ritchie. First and foremost, you were the most fair-minded and fun boss I ever had the pleasure of working with. Joe Kamenko. For Steve, it was the love of the game, perhaps more than the game company. I never told Steve this, but for a short while I had a crush on his daughter. Barry Osmond. Barry really wanted to be here today. He had some eye surgery last week, and he is recovering and was not able to attend, and he was very upset to not be here, Steve. But he shared a story with us. Here's an amusing story involving Norm Clark in the 70s. I was in Steve's office, helping him with his latest game. Steve's back was to the door. Norm snuck in with his finger to his lip, telling me not to say anything. Norm then snuck up behind Steve and blasted an air horn. Steve proceeded to fall to his knees, clutching his heart with one hand and grabbing the game with the other. Norm started to panic, thinking he had just killed his best friend. Steve was finally able to get back on his feet and said he was all right. That was the last prank that Norm ever pulled on Steve. Paul DeSalt here from Reno, Nevada. I had the fortune to make several games with Steve in the early days of Williams. 35 years later, I still love making games, and like Steve, recognize that details do matter. Thanks for being a great teacher, Steve. Jim Patton. Steve's passion, enthusiasm, energy, and love had to be experienced. Chris DeWass. Visiting his office in the back of the old Williams building was almost like walking into a museum. John Papanew. Steve is really timeless, unique, inspiring, and pinball royalty. Just a good guy from the beginning of a great part of Americana called pinball. Stephen liked to call them pin games. And I want to add these comments. Steve, when I think of you, I think of passion, invention, determination, teacher, ambassador, spokesman, eternal youth, and friend. You can see, Steve, what a profound effect you've had on all of our lives. The players, designers, collectors, suppliers, industry, brass, and friends all wish you the best on this wonderful occasion. Happy 100th, Steve Kordek.
As the designer who made the game as we know it today.
I was the first one on a game called Triple Action, built by Kenko, to have 2 flippers at the bottom of the game. In order to be more conservative than anyone had been in the industry, instead of putting 4 flippers or 6 flippers flippers on the game, I decided to put 2 flippers at the bottom of the game to be more effective in play. And that's where we have been ever since. The fact that you're playing this ball, you're actually in control of the entire game yourself.
Man will always play pinball.
You're the person playing the game that's controlling the game. If you lose the ball, it's your fault because you did something wrong. If you get enough entertainment for the money that you're putting into the game, you'll play it. Heck, we were manufacturing average of 7,000, 8,000 games a run, and sometimes as many as 15, 16, 17,000. You had to have at least a 3,000 run just to pay for the expenses of engineering games. Harry Williams came out with a game called Contact. One day Harry walked into the location watching them playing his game with that little pedestal and the ball on top. And he listened to them playing, and then all of a sudden he heard somebody else, hey, he tilted the game. The ball fell off. And from that day on, he used the name Tilt.
Playing with everybody now? Oh, now we have fun all day long. We do this every day. What you do is well, we have the facilities, we have the capabilities. It's very simple. What makes a machine like better than another machine? Just the graphics?
The attractiveness, first of all. Well, it's got to be attractive to the people that are playing it. After all, you know, if a person's attracted to the graphics, to the artwork, and attracted to the new features on the game, concerned about what he can play and see what he's going to accomplish, and then he plays it, he gets a certain amount of satisfaction, which is very, very important. Put another coin in.
I know, I was saying, put another coin in. I love that.
Hey, that's the thing.
Now here is Mr. Steve Kordek. How you doing this morning? Now, Tom, you are looking at the patriarch of pinball. Now, Steve, you're 57 years in the business, and I know that you are the first person to put flippers at the bottom of pinball machine.
I did that in 1948, very proud of it, because at the show at the Sherman Hotel in Chicago in 1948, I had the only game with 2 flippers at the bottom of the game, and they've been practically there ever since.
Great, I want to say thanks so much to everybody here at Williams Valley and Midway Pinball. Thanks to Steve, thanks to, they're calling you Gene Shaw. No, this is Roger. These great thanks to Vince and Matt and Gary and all the people here.
Here's one of our most famous employees, Steve Kordek, old timer.
Now, Steve, how old are you?
I'll be 81 this December.
You still play pinball?
Well, hell yes, I love it.
I'll tilt your face. Tell all, get a new machine in here, that one is with. Hey, what? Hey, a new machine. All right, clear the field. Don't play this machine, Barnes. You'll only get mad. Pinball machines do not make me mad. I make them mad.
Okay, let's go. Yeah,
You still play pinball?
Well, hell yes, I love it.
My thanks to Jim Shelberg and Greg Ferris for compiling those videos and putting that together for us. And you want to say a couple words, Steve?
Anybody hear that? Well, you know that. Anyway, I just can tell you that you never know how many friends you've got under these have done something like this. And it's only because this old man turned 100 years. Where the hell those years went, I don't know. Gone. And they're here. Greatest experience and the greatest people with whom I've been associated with for so many, many, many years. And sometimes I wonder how many more years you got to go. You hope and pray and thank the good Lord for you've got what you've got, and hope that the good Lord gives you another couple of years so that you can have one heck of a time with the people that you know, and can come here today to enjoy this getting together, this especially Steve. I've been having a great time. I've been having a great time, and I hope it stays that way. And I just keep hoping that each and every one of you know how to remember what it means to enjoy playing a good pin game. It's so important. So important. Thank you.